This is the Powered by Rock podcast with your host, Isaac Kuhlman. You're about to discover the most entertaining rock music podcast on the planet, filled with the best stories straight from rock musicians from all over the world. Rock music isn't dead. It's getting better and better. It's time to start paying attention again. With that said, let's get this party started.
The mountain's gonna rise and fall by me.
Hello and welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast. We're only speaking with Cody Leavitt from Asteroid M Records out of Las Vegas today. Asteroid M is a multi-purpose label that not only helps distribute awesome music in various formats, both digitally and physically, but Cody also helps record, mix, and master tracks and albums in his home. Basically, the studio you're seeing that he's kind of sitting in right there, there's a whole cool friggin' scene in there. And he even hosts live band performances that are aired on the Asteroid M YouTube channel as well. Not only that, but he helps promote and organize shows for bands in Vegas, as well as plays in a band called Not For Sale. So he's a pretty freaking busy guy with a lot of talent and a massively helpful individual in the Las Vegas music scene. Hey, Cody, welcome to the show.
Hello. How is everyone doing today?
Yeah, hope they're burning in hell. No, I'm just kidding.
It's October. No one should be burning unless this global warming thing's like another 20 years down the road. So
yeah. No, that's we might not be here in 20, 30 years, right? It's like all these projections.
if we don't blow ourselves up first, man.
Yeah, no, that's getting even worse. But let's sidetrack that conversation for maybe a little bit later in the
curving.
Yeah.
So you're gonna see a lot of ninja hands today, people. Like I got a frame here. I'm gonna use it. I go up to here. We're gonna be active.
Yeah, he's a talk with your entire body kind of individual, which is something that if you're not watching this on the video and you're listening to it just on like Spotify or Apple, go check out the video because then you'll see Cody doing ninja tricks and maybe having a. They're
not tricks, man. I studied a long time to be able to do what I do.
These aren't tricks. These are proven mechanisms.
Methodry.
All right. Well, let's get back on track and let's talk about what I think, obviously when I talk about with individuals, I want to know, what's the best story from that person, that band, that whatever the story is. Right. And I think with you, it's you're like embedded in Las Vegas music for a long time now. And have you lived here your whole life? I don't think you've lived here your whole life, but you've been here for a long ass time, right?
Yeah. So I'm sixth generation on my dad's side. I'm like sixth generation Mormon, go back to like the hand cart pioneers and all that stuff. My last name's Leavitt. There's like 3,000 or 4,000 Leavitts in town that I'm all related to. I'm like super Mormon on that side. So my my grandma on my mom's side was a prostitute, had 13 kids. My mom's the second youngest out of 13. So she kind of came from this like crazy Long Beach kind of like upbringing. So a lot of my family on that side is a little bit like that. They got together, moved to Vegas. Or she moved to Vegas, got together with my dad on some Mormon stuff, and they eloped. Actually had me and my sister in Alaska. So I was actually technically born in Alaska, lived there for 2 years, moved back to Vegas, and then I've been here since then. I've moved up to, I think I moved up to Utah for about 3 or 4 months one time. And other than that, it's just been Vegas my whole life.
Yeah. And so you've been here. I mean, you're roughly my age. I think you might be a year or two older or younger. I don't even know, but a long time. Like I've been here for like almost 17 years. I think 17 years now. And that feels like I've never lived anywhere else at this point. It's like I've lived here for so long. Time. Yeah. So how did you get to the point where, obviously coming through all the musical endeavors that you've had and all the just the interest that you've had in music, how did you come up and actually create Asteroid M? And what was the kind of formation like? I mean, obviously you probably started playing an instrument. Yeah, I know you still play instruments, but then how did that lead to? You don't have to go all the way back to like, the first thing you ever did, but kind of in that sense of how did you start Asteroid M?
So to culminate all that first part up, I was in the scene for a long time, played in bands came, bands went. I was in this band, the People's Whiskey out here. And then for whatever reason, the People's Whiskey's kind of started to slow down, but I was kind of just on all gears firing in my early 20s. Like I want to get my music out. So I started expanding out of the People's Whiskey with my first I'd say my first real jump off into the scene as a contributor, besides like being in a band, was I did with Squid Hat Records. They had a punk rock compilation I did with them, three of them, Desert Rats with Baseball Bats. So the first one I think was 2011 I think 2011 I started setting it up. Worked out of a studio, worked with Alan and from Squid Hat, and then I just pretty much hit up every local band that I could to try to get it on there that I was a big fan of. And that's how I initially kind of met like Brendan from Mercy Music. And there's so many people from that scene that are still hanging out now. But
rest in peace, Squid Hat Records. They went out of business, but yeah.
Well, I mean, went out of business in so much as Alan was like pretty much like, hey man, I've given like almost a decade of my life to helping all you assholes out. I'm gonna enjoy some of my life, and dude, I can totally understand where he's coming from at this point. You know,
I when I say out of business, I don't mean like he was like, hey, this is making a bunch of money and we lost it. It was just like, this is just how independent record labels are. It's like it's a thankless man. It's a thankless job to have. Like for sure, you have to do it because you're some sort of weirdo who cares more about music than yourself, you know what I mean, or money or anything else. Your time, your family,
all those things, right? Which is why I get to do Asteroid M. I don't, it's just me and my girl. I don't have kids and things like that. So going back to it, I started doing these compilations. So we got 3 of them out. We got them pressed on vinyl. It was really cool, and so that was kind of my jump off. Somewhere around there, I have my friend. There's this band out here, the CGs, that I started. Like Greg's still in Desert Island Boys and Ugly Boy, and it was his first band. So they were in the middle of there was a big East Side scene. There always has been out here, but I just started I was a little bit older, and I'd see the kids, and they were throwing all these shows, and they were just kind of like young and dumb about it. So I kind of stepped in, not wanting to or not trying to, but ended up being a mentor to a lot of the younger East Side kids, as far as like look, this is how we should throw shows. This is how we can actually turn this into profitable, make it safe, etc. Yada yada yada. So then I just kind of got entrenched like 4 or 5 generations back in the East Side scene out here, which is, for those who aren't in Las Vegas, it's predominantly like Latino based, like house parties. Like we'll have like 200-300 kids in a backyard. It's definitely a gray area of the law. We have to deal with the police very regularly, and it's kind of like it's if you're a kid, it's right where you want to be. It's the coolest, funnest, most edgiest shit. If you're a parent,
a lot of it's
very
like worrisome. A lot on the hardcore scene side too. Like it's not all in the hardcore scene, but a lot of it can be too. So it kind of has like a resurgence, I think, lately anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been telling kids the whole time. It's like right now where the scenes, that's the healthiest I've ever seen it, and it's amazing. So this would be around like the 2012 and 2013. It's about 10 years ago. I started getting into doing all these shows and house parties and putting on shows myself, and then right around that time I started. So I was working. I mentioned in the studio before because there was this place out here, Camel Hump Studios, and they would let me get bands in the door, and I can exchange that for studio time and practice rehearsal time for my bands. So I damn near worked out of there because I wanted to make so much music. After a little while, it kind of was like, wow, I've been in the studio a while. I understand the signal chain, gain staging, all these basic concepts. I want to learn recording. So I started my process there, probably 10 years ago, with like a little 8-track recorder. I wasn't using their gear. I used the rehearsal room and my little gear and try and learn how to record. And the first thing I ever really was like a real full album I did was the You Can't Find Anymore. It was the original Anti-Vision album from like 2015. Did that for a little while. I would just record as many bands for free as I could. And I think somewhere around 2017, I'd just been doing this for like 6 or 7 years, like organizing all these aspects of everything, recording the things, putting on and doing the shit. And it was like, well, I need to probably make something out of this. So that's when I started the label, because I finally felt like the recordings were getting solid enough that I wasn't embarrassed to put them out and didn't sound like horrible. And it was just one of those things. I'm really into documenting culture. I love history. Like anything that has to do with history, you could talk to me about, like Constantinople or anything or something for 20 years ago. I'm a sucker for that. So I love this music scene. I love my city, and I love history. So then it's just kind of like all boiled together to me, just trying to document as much of my local music scene as possible. It's a record label, but that's just because you have to call it something. It's really just my dumbass out here trying to record and video shoot and edit and just document as much of my local culture as possible. Yeah,
I mean, you could call it a project or whatever. I mean, it really is, because you have the recording side, you have the live streaming, you have like just the shows. You do kind of everything, right? So it's not just, you're not one, like I said, you're a multifaceted kind of guy. So did you ever think, like when you first started out playing music, that you were ever going to kind of transition into the industry side of it or anything like that? Or was this,
nah, I have perpetual imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for people to figure out that it's all a farce, bro. I don't think that's ever going to go away. But I do know, like, so I think a lot of people who've grown up in hard situations can kind of relate to the fact is, like, whether you know if you can do something or not, you kind of learn that you're going to be okay, you're going to get through things, and that you have the power to kind of like grow and move forward. And it's just tenacity, right? So everything I do, I feel like I'm the tortoise in the story of the tortoise and the hare. I'm just every day like, I need to edit the video, put it out on the internet. I'm just slowly but slowly. And I know that from everything I've observed that whatever your version of success is only going to come if you don't quit, if you just keep going. And I also know a lot of stories of people who are just right about there and then quit, come to find out they could have been there. So there to me is just getting people to recognize the fact that we have such an amazing hot spring of local culture and music and arts in Las Vegas, because it's known for being such a vapid city. And I feel like we're finally, like, growing up out here in the 90s, like any of the Gen Xers will tell you, if you talk to anybody from Vegas and Gen X, like, this is a very desolate, like, it was a real fuck you, was extra generation Xy out here, if that makes sense, because we just had the casinos, and it was the casinos and the fucking military base, and that was it. If it wasn't that, there was a little bit of construction, but in blue collar shit, but there wasn't nothing out here, and nothing was going to happen. And the only thing people ever even knew about was our casinos. So from the 80s on up, you've seen this, like, the same scene I'm continuing today started with, like, Danny Breeden, Chris Moon, Rob Ruckus, all these old dudes, like Guy Griebel, all my old friends, a couple generations before me, and it hasn't really stopped. But after about 30 years, like, enough of these people have grown old enough to be established, the older class of culture in the community. So, like, what they think is viable isn't casinos, it's the shit that they participated in. So we've kind of had enough generations pass till we've developed a cultural identity, I think, in probably in the last 10 years. And so it's just really exciting to be part of that aspect, for whatever it's worth, and for whatever my little nook and cranny is, being in the East Side punk rock scene, or whatever that means of Las Vegas.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I like about talking with you, because we actually started talking. I think we actually did meet for the first time in person at Punk Rock Bowling, and got to talk. And it's like, you've been here a lot longer, especially specifically active in the music scene. I played in a band. I played drums in a band about a long time now, 10 years ago, probably now at this point. But we weren't that active. Like, we just kind of played. We played a couple shows, but we didn't get too far before then the lead singer decided to get a girlfriend and then move to San Diego.
Fucking lead singers.
Yeah.
If there's any lead singers watching this, you know what you fucking did. Shame on you. I don't know what you did yesterday, but you lead singered something.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have a thing about lead singers.
Yeah. So it's like, I wasn't like, even when, like, 10 years ago, we would try to reach out to other bands, see where there was, like, shows that you could play. We had to play, like, a coffee shop. We had to play, like, a house party. Like, and we're like, 30 years old. Like, this is awkward. Like, hey, come over to our house and, like, hang out while we play a show. People are like,
hey, coworkers, we are into music.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember Not Another Teen Movie? It's like that, but we're 30.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's like, oh, this is weird. So, like, now there's a lot more things out there. And when we got to talking, it was like, there was certain things about, like the Huntridge Theater, and that's, coming back, but, it may not be the same, but it's still coming back. But, there's certain things that were lost, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that are gained. So Bunkhouse Saloon burning down, that's one thing that's lost. That's probably never coming back, at least not that I can see. Something may replace it, but there's other things that are cropping up. Yeah.
Not that facet, like a bar at a live venue. I doubt that.
Yeah, and that was a really cool place. It was kind of run down, but it was, like, so cool to just go in there, like, and have a patio that you, like, or a backyard or whatever you want to call it, to, like, just go out and hang out for
the heartbeat of the whole Macrofi scene. And shout out to everyone, fucking Def, GC Records, fucking Holding On to Sound, still the best punk band to come out of Vegas.
Nice. Yeah,
that was great. That was all Bunkhouse.
That's why I like talking to you, because, like, it's somebody who doesn't know anything about Vegas music. The punk rock museums here now, right? Like, how much of that punk rock museum is Vegas related? Very, very little. Like,
that's not true. Hold on. Whoa. We got to pump the brakes here. Las Vegas has a whole fucking section there. Like, a whole
Now
section.
They do. Now they do.
Since they started it. And furthermore,
really?
So all, like, 3 or 4 of the people who were on board from the beginning as curators are Las Vegas local OG elder statesmen of the scene. So
I know that.
Any of those rumors. If you go to the bathrooms,
display.
everything in that whole bathroom region is all Las Vegas punk rock shit. Like
I didn't use
literally,
the
we have,
bathroom.
I think, a bigger section than fucking England. So like they were very conscientious about like Fat Michael was cool as shit, and whoever else was working on it with them about coming out here and using our city and then giving it like, all right, cool. Here's a disproportionately large part of the museum for your city. So I can't say that it's well represented. And if you go there, like everyone working there are all certifiable Las Vegas punk rockers. Like
I know that like the people for sure. I did not see anything because I first of all I didn't use the bathroom, which probably my fault.
You missed out on everything.
Yeah. But I was like, where the fuck? I think there was somebody said like there's a display over there, and it was like it didn't look that big, but like if
like, dude, wall to wall, top to bottom. I literally not literally videographically. Anyways, by the time this comes out, I think I'm dropping a video that's gonna have Ruckus, Danny, and Guy Griebel going over some of their favorite stories at that place in the Punk Rock Museum. So no, it's cool. It's the shit. I co-sign on that thing all day. Yeah,
and I've been there, and it's cool. Like I didn't have a guided tour, so it was me just kind of looking around. Right. So it helps to have a guided tour where somebody's explaining like each of the different sections and possibly like taking you into the bathroom and showing you that there's something. And they're like, hey, you might want to go check out the bathroom if you want to see the Las Vegas stuff. So that is definitely cool. Like, and that's one thing I will say about the Punk Rock Museum is the time it's most worth it is if you get a guided tour, because those people have so much good knowledge and history, even if it's just the local ones, or it doesn't have to be like a celebrity punk or anything. You'll get a lot more information out of it than just going walking by yourself. Because I was like, there's a lot of stuff to take in, but that again, like you and I, we like history. Like I was actually a history major in college, but like it wasn't punk history. It was freaking antiquities, like ancient Roman and Greek, right? So like I like to study all that stuff and learn more and more about pretty much any place that I ever live in and any place that I ever visit. It's like I want to learn more about this history. So that's why one of the big reasons why I wanted to have you on is because I could sit here and talk about Las Vegas, but it's going to be a very narrow amount of time compared to yours, where it's like, you've got this whole history for, 40 years or whatever. So my questions will always stem like, how is this compared to that? How does it, because in my opinion, there's certain things now, and we'll talk about bands here in a second that are playing now that obviously literally all came out after COVID, that when I was playing 10 years ago, none of these bands existed. Some of them were not even like in high school yet, but then others were like, even like Not For Sale, I don't think's been around for 10 years. I don't think, but
it has. But Jared Davis was just like an acoustic performer for a while. And then he kind of, everything lined up. So where we were all like, cool, let's get in the band a couple years ago. But that was also a COVID thing. And COVID's my argument. Like, when in the history of rock and roll music have fucking teenagers had like a year and a half to just sit down and hash music? I know it wasn't in person, but literally just sit down and hash out frustrations and feelings. Like, now you're a teenager in the social media age and you have a pandemic. So then you have like all these fucking kids got locked away and got to sit down and actually kind of make music. And then so when the pandemic came out, there's so many fucking, we're in Las Vegas. And like, I think so in the last year, I've done 67 sessions or something like that with bands. And I haven't even scratched the fucking surface, and they're all great. Yeah. Like, it just went boop. It's like after like it's like it was like there was a forest fire, and then it flooded, and then the growth that came after that was just like fucking insane. So that's why I'm like, I did 2 sessions. Yes, I'm like trying to do 2 or 3 sessions a week, just trying to document as much as I can, and I can't even keep up with the rate of. And I just keep being like, who's this band? Let me go check them out. Oh, that's cool as shit. It's great, man. It's an amazing.
That's how I feel. I'm like every time somebody messages me, they're like, "Hey, we're a new band." I'm like, "How have I not heard of you?" Like I've literally thought I knew like every band at this point, but not even close.
And then you go look at them, and then you like notice that like, oh, they were on that show last month. They were that band I didn't notice. They were on that.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
I have been seeing them around. I just didn't notice.
Yeah, I thought it was like a out of town band or something like that. Yeah,
I've been checking that a lot lately. The little 174 like bands. I'm watching you guys. I'm watching all you motherfuckers. Do your thing. It's fucking awesome. I love to see it.
Yeah. And, obviously, the one thing I do want to talk about is kind of where you see, I've talked to you about like, Anti-Vision and some of these other bands that have kind of been around for a while, but they're literally like the torchbearers from like the previous generation of
10 years ago,
bands to like the new bands, right? Like they still play with new bands. They're obviously, kind of spread out a little bit over the West Coast now, but, these bands come here, play their shows, and then get like actual bands from right now playing on the shows. You don't see a lot of kind of cross-generational shows, except for mostly in the hardcore scene right now, or even like in the well, I could say cross genre shows, but cross generational shows, I usually only see that in the hardcore shows right now. Whereas like you don't see Mercy Music playing with like Pure Sport right now. You don't see an older punk band playing with a younger punk band. You see, Anti-Vision playing with Pure Sport in a hardcore kind of show, which Pure Sport kind of blends both genres pretty well.
Right.
But I'm like,
best band in Vegas.
Yeah, they're fucking awesome. So I think there's just a way that like some of these bands need to start playing with the other bands and kind of bringing them together. And I had Crimson Riot play with like White Noise for a show. And I'm like, just because we're like 40 doesn't mean we can't play with 25-year-olds. Like they absolutely should be playing together as long as the scene fits for that show. But kind of talk to me about like, what do you see from like the previous generations to the new generations? What's different? What's the same? How do they fit together, and how are they like, falling apart or,
honestly, I think
from
everything you're just talking about just comes down to peer groups, man, to be quite honest with you. Cause like now that you've booked White Noise with the RGP, like watch how that's going to happen now because they've met, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like I traverse a lot of scenes, like no joke. I know everyone from the oldest motherfuckers in the scene who are like in their 70s now to like the most brand newest 14-year-old who just came up to me at the last show, and I'm not going to shout them out because they're 14, but like we're like interested in local music and shit, like, so I know like the whole thing, and the only thing that separates them is just who knows who, because you introduce this band to this band, now they're playing together. And like it's not because I don't even think there's that like who's older who's not, because like and not for sales, and like I mean Robbie's an Anti-Vision, but like we're all, me and Jared, I think Jared's 42, so like we are like, I'm 39, he's 42, so we're definitely like the kids' parents' age. But if you go out there and like you have music that doesn't suck, I guess, or you have music that's still relevant, which I would argue like all these older generational bands do, because nowadays kids don't like, when we were younger, what was new and what was cutting edge was what was hip, right? And that's still the case today, right? But also the kids go back and they like the back catalog too. So what was old is also hip. So if you do like a 90s grunge thing, good, kids are going to like it, right? Yeah. If you do anything good, the kids are going to like it. So I don't really think the kids have that stigma anymore, because they like such a breadth of music, from really old school shit to like, bro, like you tell me this, like if there wasn't like a Fleetwood Mac reunion, if everyone was still alive, once that viral video of the homie skating went viral, if they would have had concerts, hell, the kids would have gone and seen Fleetwood Mac. They wouldn't care that they're all in their 70s. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like the kids got the right vibe. And to bring this back to the question, I think the only thing is just that integration. So I really like, we got a show coming up here on Friday. And so I've got like Lean 13 in on that too. And because Lean 13 is literally one of my favorite fucking punk bands in Vegas, dude. They do the like street punk shit that I fucking love. And the kids would love it too. They just don't fucking know about it. Yeah. So let me throw them in there. And then once I throw them in there, like same with like how Horpulation's got a great following now, because we've been putting them on all ages shows. And Horpulation's been playing as a punk band in one variety or another since like 2006, right? So that's, and it's still like the kids still get down for that. So it's cool, because I don't really think, other than just social cliques, there's anything that separates like the older class from the younger class. Like from where I'm sitting, because I'm friends with all of them, it's all the same type of people who just eventually have to meet to like make these things happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And that's why I start trying to like book people from, 25s to, the 40s or whatever. And, I don't try to book a lot of shows, but when I do, I'm like, I want to get people that
you do great shows. I love your shows.
Yeah, thanks. I don't want to book somebody that's like all like the same group, right? I want cross promotional groups, because I want them to see new music that they've never seen before. And I think that there's that idea that, most people that are playing all ages shows can't play 21 and over shows, and 21 and over shows can't play all ages shows because it's a different crowd. It's like, put them together.
That's exactly
put them together so that way they can, right? And it's like, well, they don't have a draw with a over 21 crowd, or they don't have a draw with an all ages crowd.
Cool. That's why I tell those people, we're going to put you on it first, and then the next show I'll put you on, you know what I mean? And we're going to easy on in there, because like, it's an acquired taste, right? Like, who are these old dudes? Oh, that didn't suck. All these guys were pretty good. And you see them the next time, that's pretty good. I liked it. And that's how it grows,
Yeah, exactly.
Or vice versa. Who the fuck? So I'm friends with the half of the Scoundrels, the band The Scoundrels. They were doing these like you could go to the dive bar and smoke weed, and they had these cool like jam sessions over there for a couple years. Yeah. And about 2 years ago, Pure Sport did one, and my buddy Steve from the band is telling me, he's like, when we played, I seen that they had talent, but like they were definitely not where they're at now. Yeah. And then 2 years later, in my opinion, the best band in Vegas. So it's just cool to be able to see that progression, and then like you know, go like I said, it goes both ways. So now Steve and all those older cats are like, oh, Pure Sport, okay, all right, we see you guys, and vice versa. Pure Sports are like, oh, there's these dudes who are damn near our grandpa's age who still. And the more aware we become of each other as a overall music community, the less there's going to be lines between all these, because we have like the like my East Side scene. Then you've kind of got like the Summerlin, Henderson, downtown hardcore scene. You know, Eagle, Airy Hall, Legion, and all that stuff. And so you kind of got that suburban hardcore thing. And you know, not to say it doesn't also have its urban thing, but then you have like the downtown cool kids, kind of like we're all in our mid-20s and we're making really artsy, cool rock and roll music. And I love that scene because that's the scene where I'm seeing the most participation from women being like accepted and just being straight badasses and owning it. So it's cool because you're starting to see this inclusivity come in. So I'm loving to see all these like little things pop up. I just want to pop the bubbles and just mix the whole soup up and get everyone moving together. So I think a lot of the times with the sessions, so when I have people over for sessions, I'll pull from the different scenes. And then they'll invariably be like, we're going to go do this thing. What is it? So then they go watch sessions. And most people, my favorite thing to hear is, oh man, like I was checking out this band. I didn't even know they existed. I fucking love them now. So that's my success, right? Is the more people become aware of these things, the more I'm just like, fuck yeah, I want to keep recording these things, because I'm just sitting here. I'm the ultimate fan. I'm only doing this because I'm the ultimate fan. You know what I mean? Like
that's how I feel too.
Putting my whole we're weirdos, dude. We're weird as shit. And I wouldn't be putting my whole life on this if I didn't care this much, if it wasn't my religion, if it wasn't one of the only things that can make me happy in this world. So it's you know, I think all of it, like I said all the time, and you're here in my room on a broadcast, but anyone who makes it into my house is a fucking weirdo. You're some weird music person who never gave up, doesn't like a lot of the shit on the outside. So you know what I do like? Music. And we're lifers. It's weird fucking people, you know. And so those are my people. And
I mean, like I put Detective Frog, who I've only heard on through their Spotify stuff, on a show. And I went and watched them. I was like, holy fucking shit, this band absolutely rips. I'm like, I fucking love this band. They're so good. And like people were like, yeah, they're good. I'm like, okay, so like would you say that even if they were bad? Like, I don't know. Like the music on Spotify was fine. Like it's good. But then you never know what that's going to look like when they play live. And I was like,
how do you capture Pure Sport, you know, on a recording, right?
Exactly.
You know,
it's like pure energy. It's like, that's what you want to see when you see somebody play live. And Wyatt and the Ashes, a lot of these guys, you know?
Jacob's fucking amazing. Jacob from Detective Frog, and man, that the whole band, dude, everyone in the band's fucking, I love that band. They got some cool stuff, man. I kind of like their whole vibe. I've actually recorded the last few songs. And then same thing with Wyatt, or AJ, we should say. He always does that to me. He fucking named his band a different name than himself, and the band name is close to him. And so he'll be over here and we'll be friends, and I'll be like, AJ. So hey, what? Fuck. Sorry, man. I know your name. I swear to God, AJ. We're best buds, but no, he's great, man. People like that. His band's a great addition too. You haven't got to see them yet, have you?
I did. Yeah, they played on the same show with Detective Frog.
So then you got a taste.
Yeah.
That people don't know, man. Like, AJ's been grinding so fucking hard out here for 2 or 3 years, and I've been just watching him just like put on other people and show respect and fucking like go out and support. And so this year we were finally able to help him get a band together, and fucking a band of killer ass musicians. So I don't say this lightly, but like he's my vote for like the newest Mercy Music capable level artist. Like if they keep pushing the narrative, like they rehearse over here at the studio. So like actually they're going to be rehearsing here tonight, and I just I'll come check them out. Just like, fuck, dude, they're one to watch out here for sure. Shout out.
Yeah, he and I had a great conversation where, you know, he's talking about how hard he's worked and all this stuff, and I'm like, dude, I'm a huge fan. Like I will never say that you don't make fucking great music, you don't put on great shows. So yeah, I mean, it was actually their first headline show that I put on. Unfortunately, the problem with headline shows is that usually you go on at like 11 and everybody goes home at like 10, or like they leave.
So with headlines, I don't ever put headliners on last. To me, first and last slots are the worst slots. So those are the, hey, you're doing me a favor, I'll put you on a better slot next show things. And then your middle slots. So if I have an out of town band, guaranteed they're third. If it's like if it's a 4-band night and it's like say like Double Down and Red Dwarf, second band. That's where everyone's there. I want that. Because
every show in Las Vegas starts at like 8 or 9 p.m. earliest, not like 7. Earliest. Like normal cities will have like a show start at like 7 and be done by like 10. but then that's why the headliner goes on last, but not in Las Vegas. You have to have the headliner go in the middle, which is something I'm learning as I'm promoting shows. I'm like, where the fuck is everybody going? Like, the show is not over yet. Why aren't you
unless you
drinking
know the
till 1 a.m.?
headliner's
Like,
got that draw that people are going to come and stay for. Generally, pretty much all the shows I book, 99% of the shows I book are for what I call the circuit. I'm friends with all the other like co-punk people at my level throughout the country, and so we just help each other out. And so that's the thing, is like when they're coming out here, it's like, yeah, they might have played here 6 times. It doesn't mean there's like 70 people in town who are coming out. So it's like, let's try and book you a show with a bunch of good locals, put you right in the middle of that sandwich, so that you're guaranteed, you know, being there
Somebody
with the cheese and the meat, you know?
Yeah. And that's, you know, the more I'm seeing that, the more I'm learning. And it's like, why is it not like Vegas is not like any other city in just weird
24-hour
ways?
town, man.
I know, it's like in weird ways. It's like, okay, well,
Night shift don't get off till 11 most times.
Yeah, and that's true. And then some people are like, well, we're just getting the night started, so we're drinking here from 9 to 11, and then we're going out from 11 to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., right? So it makes a little interesting sort of like case study for anybody who's trying to figure out how to promote a show in Vegas. Is like, yeah, the 10 p.m. slot is usually the best.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. 10 to 10:30 to 11 is that prime time for everyone.
Yeah.
If you're at later venues, 12 o'clock, like 11:45 to 12:30 is your prime time, but it's sharp. It's like good. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So
That's like,
it's
you
hard,
talk
man.
about like
It's hard
Double
out here.
Down or something like that, where they start at like midnight basically. And it's like, well, the first band's usually going to get that draw. And then unless they're a good closer.
And it's not like it used to be. It used to be like Double Down. It'd be 4 in the morning. There'd still be 80 people in there, but it's not quite like that anymore.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the surge of local Las Vegas bands, because obviously we've talked about, you know, some of these already just indirectly without being questioned about it. But, you know, I'm over 40. I'm 41. I'll be 42 soon. You're almost 40. And, you know, it's a bit refreshing for 40-year-olds to talk about, you know, bands in their 20s, right? You know, you don't hear that. You never hear that on the radio. It's like, hey, we're a disc jockey who's 40 years old talking about a band who's coming up in their 20s. And it's like, that's his time as old, you know, a tale as old as time. But what I'm saying here is that we're not judging it like the old groups used to do, right? Like when I was young, if you were 40, you hated the new music, right? Like you hated the music I was making when I was in my teens and 20s. It
went both ways. Like it would be like, you know, if you're sitting there jamming, your dad's like, "Have you heard of Steely Dan?" It's like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to listen to Steely fucking
I've heard
Dan.
Steely Dan, and it fucking sucks, bro.
Yeah, get out of here, bro. Have you heard about Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what the fuck is that guitar noise? That ain't even a guitar. Nowadays, not like that.
Yeah. So what kind of obviously you know the old generation, you got the new generation, but what kind of bands, like, you know, obviously there's bands like Detective Frog, White in the Ashes, a little older, but then there's bands that, you know, the Dollheads, 16, 15, 14, whatever they are, you know, they're coming up and they're one on the
they're fucking going places. Like, they're fucking going places. If they don't blow the fuck up, I'd be surprised. Like, and I mean like blow the fuck up, like all the way Killers level, blow the fuck up. They got the whole thing. They're fucking humble. They got like this sibling, like you can have what's called genetic harmony. It's like when, you know, like how like the Jacksons or the Osmonds or these people, they have like great fucking harmonies with each other because they have genetically similar voices. So it sounds like one choral instrument. So then you'll have like, also, I believe you get that with like rhythm and feel, right? So you got this band of like siblings who love all, and for one, how many people grew up with 3 or 2 different siblings and y'all got along and like the same shit enough to want to play together? So it's just this really weird, like, it's something special, man. Yeah, they're going places. That's all I can say. This is the last time I talked to their dad. Was just like, make sure you get an entertainment lawyer, man, because like, with something like that, everyone's gonna have intentions and everyone's gonna come out. But you know what? That's cool, because all that means is they have success coming their way. So as long as you prepare for that, you can enjoy the good part of the fact that, like, dude, you raised your kids amazingly. Look at this. Like, like I said, how many people's kids are not only in a band, but like in a band, and like I've never seen a band so young be so accepted by every older generation. Like you seen them when they played the Women's Fest out in Liverpool, and like you got like all these old like 60-year-old like oi rockers, like one like this right here, that's I like that one. And you're like, fuck, dude, they're like transcontinental badasses getting accepted on all kinds of different scenes. So shout out the goddamn Dollheads. They're amazing, and I'm sure they're going amazing places. Yeah, I just talked to their dad. We just watched them at the Space the other night, and I was a little drunk and a little
little
Conversational.
yeah, a little conversational for sure. And it was like, yeah, we were having a good time, but you know, that band and so many other bands that I'm just like watching, I'm like, if there was a scene like this when I grew up, when I was playing music in North Dakota, I would have freaking never stopped playing music. I would have just kept playing music my whole life, and my whole complete concept of where I am now would be so like crazy. I'd be like, business coaching, what the fuck is that? No, I'd be
Right.
like still struggling to make money and whatever, doing whatever with music. But that's the thing, like, you know, the scene here, it's so tight for each little pocket, like you're saying, like each little pocket has its tightness, right? And everybody accepts every band, like, you know, even if they're not great in the first go, like you're like, hey, you know, keep going, like don't stop, like this is why we're all together. And I've never seen a support system in any and I played it even up in Oregon and stuff like that. Like usually it's a competitive nature, right? It's like, hey, we want to be better than that band, we want to get more recognition than that band. But here it's not like that. And here it's like everybody supports everybody in almost every scene that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I've always felt really different because we live right next to LA, right? So you grow up right next to like the mecca of this, and especially growing up in the, you know, middle late 90s and early 2000s, seeing so many like LA bands and just the feel of that, like we're gonna make it. You know what you need to do to make it? Oh, here's my card.
Yeah.
That whole thing, that's just not my vibe, and I don't think that's like the Las Vegas vibe. So like to me, like growing up as skateboarding kind of describes it to me. Like the feel of it is like if you go to a skate park, right, and say you got like fucking Tony Hawk and all the other greats there, and they're all sitting at the skate park, and there's some little fucking kid who's 6 years old or 7 years old, he's trying to ollie, right, and he gets that ollie, they're gonna be stoked. Same thing if there's some like, you know, 25-year-old dude who's just learning how to skate and he's trying to land this trick and he's trying for 2 or 3 hours and he finally lands it, everyone's gonna blow up. It doesn't matter that he's Tony Hawk and he knows that kid's there. It's about the participation, the fact that like we love this art, you're participating in this art. Now that's not that be said. I think healthy competition is great. Like I think all the bands that we were just talking about, like that downtown scene, have a healthy competition where they realize they're all really solid bands and they want to, like, not in a mean way, but want to go outperform each other and raise the bar and keep pushing each other like you would in any like good competitive type of sport. You don't want to compete against losers. You want to compete against the fucking best. That's what makes you the best. So I think we have a really good balance of just like, cool, you're here, you don't even got to be the best, you can play the best and you'll get the same amount of support, but after playing with the best for a year or two, I bet you're going to be a lot better. And I think everyone kind of instinctively seems to kind of know that not out here, we're not like some like crazy thing because we're Las Vegas. It just so happens to have shaken down that we have a really good scene, but it feels very supportive like that. And I don't know, at least in my end of things, I've always tried to preach that. It's like, you know, if someone's even like getting up on, like, how hard is it to just learn a song, get up and perform in front of people? Like, I got fucking respect for you if you do that, you know?
I still
like, cool,
struggle to remember my own lyrics.
You could have just talked shit about people and been a bitch, but you actually decided to do. And I got anyone who does, I got nothing but respect for.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of another part of the, I guess it's not just the new generation, but like there's been a lot of bands who do act like that, right? And then they get kind of canceled out of the culture. It's like those bands that kind of
can't act like that,
start shit and then like just disappear because everybody's like, don't go to the, like, don't ever watch them. Like, you know, that I'm not necessarily a fan of like immediately like destroying somebody over one instance or something. Like there's obviously borders, like boundaries.
No, it's pros and cons of the whole cancel culture thing. I'm definitely not necessarily like at this point, because it's got so prevalent, I've got to the point where, like, you know, you want to believe everyone first, but at the same time, I still have to ask critical questions about every situation, and we have to answer critical questions because these are critical situations. And so if I come to a critical conclusion after checking all the facts, and it seems like, you know, we'll have instances where, like, it seems like sometimes a kid might get mad at another kid, and it's like, you guys were friends for 3 years, and then you're getting my DMs and be like, they can't come to your shows no more. And I'm like, well, why not? Well, they're a racist. Like, well, that's kind of funny. You're a person of color and you guys were friends for years. Well, why are they racist? And they'll show me some shit that's really questionable that, like, I have to believe, you know, and you're just like, I'm not going to cancel for that. At the same time, I've, like, with the hard flip situation, someone's like, hey, here's these text messages. And it's like, well, hold on, let me make a post real quick. Like, it's hard, but overall, I think it's for the better because people didn't used to call out this shit. Like, how many girls do I know were fucking assaulted when I was younger that never said anything because dude was popular, or maybe they were drunk and they didn't want to, like. So I'm all for like, I'd rather the casualties be an innocent person, like an innocent dude who get his name slagged, than a girl being assaulted. You feel me? So
somebody
like
who actually is a victim,
right, like
not
no, I
being
mean like
believed.
not to say that someone who doesn't get falsely accused of something isn't a victim, but I'm just saying I'd rather that be the type of victimization happening as opposed to like someone getting assaulted.
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. So it's a gray area, and I don't think any one person can define what is or what isn't. But like I tend to just want to side with morality and logic, like what was right and what's logical here, you know.
Yeah.
And some of these times, I think like some of these situations with people getting canceled or some of the bands, it's stuff that could have been like, instead of canceling the band, is this a chance for us all to grow? Could we have had a conversation here that helps people grow and change their mindset? So even if they're not in the scene no more, when they go back in the world, they have a changed mindset. Because at the end of the day, if we're supposed to be like especially in the rock, and like I'd say we're pretty left wing in this rock community that we're in, right? Definitely a very progressive, almost liberal type of community. I hate that word, but you know, definitely left wing political party. So we're supposed to be kind of like the people who are a little bit more less than ignorant according to the ways that we're portraying ourselves. So if we're going to be like that, then we have to kind of acknowledge that we're going to engage ignorance. Now, if every time we engage ignorance, we just shut it down and ship it out, it stays ignorant and gets madder, which makes more of a problem for us. If I can engage ignorance with logic and like just a little bit, and I'm like, again, I'm to have this conversation with the kids in here. It's like, if you're a trans kid, bro, I'm not asking you to go talk to that fucking big mean biker bar. What I am saying is that you've got resources in your scene like me where you can be like, hey, that dude's making me feel comfortable. I'll go talk to that guy. You know what I mean? And there might be a chance that I could talk some sense into it. And I've talked some sense into people about a lot of these subjects, you know. So I feel like a lot of the way forward in this is going to be like anything else in the world. Communication. We have to communicate. Whether I like this person or not, we coexist. Something has to give here. And I don't expect them to give. So let me see if maybe I can find some chinks in their logical armor and pull apart some of these like kind of regressive, small-minded, you know, think tank ideas and expose like, hey, like it's not a big scary world. We're all just kind of chilling and we all want to be loved and have our own space here. And we're not encroaching on you. Let us be our weird selves over here type of thing. So.
Yeah. And it's kind of that mindset. Like I remember when I was growing up, there was always that mindset of like, oh, one day all the old racist bigots are going to die and then the world will be a better place. I'm like, actually, they're going to have kids and they're likely going to be just as racist and bigoted as that person unless you get them to change their mind about it. So if you just push away, like, again, cancel culture is basically pushing the problem to somewhere else, right? It's like, if you just push away that problem, it's not going to end the problem. It's just going to make you basically feel like that problem's over for yourself, but it's just pushing it somewhere else, right? So have the conversations, have like an open dialogue back and forth. And as soon as somebody says something you don't like, ask them why they think that way instead of saying, no, that's not how it works. Like, that's not real. That's not logical. That's not fact or whatever. Like, ask them why they believe that way. And then have the conversation of beliefs instead of, facts or, who's right or who's wrong. Beliefs are very rarely ever factual and they're very ever fully black and white, right and wrong, right? Beliefs are
there's no black and white in this. It's such a sliding gray scale that it's that's why it's so kind of hard to talk about this at any kind of like definitive nature because it's so subjective.
Yeah. And I still to this day I won't go out of my way to like say like I'll never talk to that person, I'll never support that person. I'm like, I support anyone until they basically have done me wrong. And if part of that is them like sexually assaulting somebody, I feel they've done me wrong by basically misportraying themselves as somebody who they portray themselves as being when they are doing the opposite, right? So that is like, one thing, but
no, I mean, of course we're going to have lines like, I mean, and I think stuff like that's unspoken. I think when we talk about like this canceling thing, I think everyone can agree that genuine, actual fucking assault, anyone who's abusers in like a real sense of the word, who's like, dude, for real, like abusing or raping or fucking whatever, like we can all pretty much assume that we can cancel those people. I'm not trying to stick up for anyone who's any kind of weird fucking rapist or physical abuser in any sense of the word. No contextual weirdness there to get the fuck out of here. Like, and we all feel like that. So I think a lot of this stuff, what we're talking about here is an extreme. We're not talking about people who are like complete racists. We're talking about the, like, I'm not going to say the band, but one of the bands out here had, one of the members had said, hey, look, I don't believe in any political organization that's been co-opted by a major like money source, by a major like think tank funding bank, that
something like that. Yeah.
Right. And they said that applies to everything. And they included Black Lives Matter in that. Now I can say I have friends out here like my buddy, Joe and Nuda Bryant, who were like key figures in the organization of BLM on the West Coast in its early stages, who I know now, or not even now, like within 8 or 9 months, pretty much people I knew who were on the ground floor of that organization were like, it's pretty much been co-opted now. All right.
Yeah.
So I kind of like get where the kid's saying. And so I get what he's saying. And what he's saying is that like this was something cool and it got corrupted. So I'm not going to buy into it. He's not saying he doesn't value Black Lives Matter. Right. But that's what it got twisted into. And it got to the point where people tried to, the band still play, so I'm not going to throw it out there, but they tried to cancel him. But 2 of the members got like assaulted by big, tough, hardcore kids. And they had to quit the band because they were like literally like got PTSD from like going out because people were going to beat them up because their singer that espoused that idea, right? And that's an idea that I can agree with. And it's like, so stuff like that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about this cancel culture stuff, I'm like, that's a conversation you could have had. And y'all could have got to the bottom of this without anyone being assaulted or any bands being kicked out of the scene, you know? So, and I feel like there's a lot of that. Like I was talking about the person who got in my inboxes about, you know, their friends are racist. Wait, that person that you were friends with for 3 fucking years that I go back and scroll through your Insta that you were kicking a tuck with, like all of a sudden you didn't know that for 3. It sounds like something happened. Y'all got mad and now you're trying to flip. Like, man, no kids want to admit it, but how many 16-year-olds has done or said some edgelord shit across all races and genres that they probably wouldn't want anyone else in public to hear?
Yeah,
I'm a human. I know that shit happens. So I try and have that in my mind when a kid's talking to me about stuff. It's like, is this a kid just being kind of edgy with their friends and pushing boundaries and seeing where those boundaries lie as a growing human in the world? Or are they hateful people pushing rhetoric? You know what I mean? And a lot of times they're not hateful people pushing rhetoric. A lot of times it is these kids just trying to figure out what it is. And some of these kids might like, not me personally, but I come from like trailer parks and like situations where like I grew up around like woods, like fucking Pecker Woods, like prison racist white folk, right? And like a lot of these kids might come from situations like that where they might have good hearts and they might have to be deprogrammed on an idea or 2 that are slightly problematic. Overall, these might be great kids who came from a really fucked up place who are still working on getting that, you know. So like,
and the reason why they're not in that place
kids
anymore,
off for something beautiful because they're trying to grow and they came from ugly. Like we all come from. I think if you end up in our scenes, you came from something ugly because you're kind of some weird traumatized kid who's like loving music to the point where you eschew everything else in society and your focal point is like, fuck this, just creation of music, everything else is ugly. So I think if we all just had a little bit more empathy about where everyone else is coming from about this stuff, we could cancel maybe a little bit less people unnecessarily.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of those people who are trying, like you're saying, like come from these places, they're a lot of times they're like, they don't like the way that scene was that they came from. So they're trying to like get away from it, but they're still going to have like those trickling, whatever.
Of course, man. You grew up like nature versus nurture, right?
Yep, exactly. So I think let's wrap up the first segment because there was a lot in there. We had some really good conversations, but I want to play something from Not For Sale. And I don't know if you have the rights for the song, but there was a live performance of like you guys did for Bridge City Sessions, I think.
Yes.
And in that you guys played Temporary Arms. And I really would like to actually play Temporary Arms from that session. Would that be okay if I do that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're going to take a quick break.
Flagging your video real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna hear Temporary Arms by Not For Sale, and we'll be back right after this.
Temporary Arms, take 1.
rose and broken hearts. Only I'm temporary. Wrapped in rose and broken hearts. Only I'm temporary. Wrapped in rose and broken hearts. Only offered temporary.
Welcome back to the Power by Rock podcast. I'm here with Cody from Asteroid M Records. Hey, Cody, are you ready to be put in the spotlight?
Put me in the spotlight.
All right. Some of these I think you'll have a very good opinion on. So the first one I want to ask you is obviously we've been talking about the Asteroid M sessions. You've had a lot of really cool bands on there, some Las Vegas locals and even some international bands like the Svetlanas. But do you have a band in mind that you really want to get on there or just record an album for?
Locally or internationally?
Anything. If you could pick a band that you're like, I want these dudes to like play a show in my house.
Fuck, man, that's what genre? Man, who I really like to fucking who's blowing me away right now? Death by Unga Bunga. They're like a New York indie rock, garage rock thing, and I fucking am digging the shit out of them right now.
They're on my. They used to be on my wall, but yeah, they actually won album of the year with their last album for Powered by Rock in like 2021 or whatever.
Was that the Modern Man album?
Yeah, Modern Male Insecurity or whatever. Heavy Male Insecurity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, that I was just posting that the other day. That is such a great album. I've probably listened to that 20 times in the last month. I fucking love that album.
It's fucking great. I love it. I was like, they were actually the very first guests on Powered by Rock podcast.
Are you kidding me?
The very first guest.
You're in touch with those dudes?
Yeah, I know.
Dude, if they're ever swinging through Vegas, I for sure want to do a fucking session with them.
Sounds good. Well, there you go.
I'll bug you about that. But yeah, so that band,
dreams come true.
Look at that, full circle, right?
Yeah. So they're the first ones, and now technically, as of today, you're the last one. And if I stop making this episode, these episodes tomorrow, it would definitely be a full circle, right?
It's a contiguous storyline there. Better than that of Star Wars.
Yeah, and I fucking love Death by Unga Bunga. Their music, like they've gone through like a couple different phases, but like the newest stuff is really, really, really good.
Yeah, it's good, man. Sometimes people just put things together perfectly. It's like you've had a cheeseburger a million times in your life, but every once in a while you go to a place, you're like, fuck, man, I know I've had a bunch of cheeseburgers. That's a really good cheeseburger. And I feel like they did that with that album. It's like nothing on that's like groundbreaking or nothing, but it's just done so well. The execution is so tasteful. Like the crisp lettuce they put right before the butter pickles that's how I feel about that album.
They know exactly what they're doing. Yeah. All right, cool. Question number 2. So I had mentioned that you also help put some shows together, but if you could put together the best show of all time with a mix of local and non-local bands, let's say you got 5 or 6 bands, who would you put on that bill?
Like just a badass bill that I would like.
Like this is fucking. If I have my dreams come true, this is Cody's.
Okay, let's start from the bottom. So I would put Holding On to Sound from Las Vegas on there because I said best band to come out of that Las Vegas. So we'll do the local thing first. Unfair Fight. No one's to this day has captured Dan's performance level. So if we'll do 4, and then let's do 2 Big Time X. Fucking Green Day. Green Day consistently always the most entertaining shows I've ever seen. I think I've seen them like probably more than like 8 or 9 times, and always fucking great. Like just a whole time. I fucking love them. And then 9 Inch Nails, because I've never got to see fucking 9 Inch Nails, and everyone that's ever gone has said that they're just fucking crazy good show. So
yeah,
I'd like to see them. Radiohead's technically one of my favorite bands, but I feel like there's a high probability of being let down by a Radiohead performance if Tom's like feeling weird or something. So I feel like with that stack of bands right there, I'm just gonna get everything I want. But yeah, that's my on the fly. I'm sure I could like sit down and come up with better answers, but that's my from the hip thing.
Pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know how that would bill out where you actually like, obviously most of the people there would be like watching Green Day, and then there would be the Green Day fans and there'd be the 9 Inch Nail fans, and they'd be like, what the fuck are we doing in the
That's
same
kids
place at the same
nowadays. Kids
time?
like 90s music. So like then
Yeah.
with that I capture kids nowadays, the TikTok
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah.
And then I just got the local bands on there.
Yeah. I was
But I
talking
mean,
with
this is like all time, like, you know, this wouldn't. So if it was like right now, obviously I wouldn't have holding. It'd be like fucking pure sport, and I'd have to flip the coin between Desert Island Boys and Anti-Vision because those are my dudes.
yeah, those guys all fucking rock too.
Yeah, those are my guys. But yeah,
like it's weird because like I had a conversation with my sister-in-law. She's like 26, 26, I think, and I was like, how the fuck does so many bands in Las Vegas know Talking Heads songs? I'm like, why are they so big now? I'm like, they were big when I was a kid, but like I didn't know like their songs word for word or anything. And then like there's people covering them. Like Rose
we didn't
Levy
like
did
the
a
80s
cover.
and the 90s. It
And I
was
was like,
passe. We were
yeah,
like, I
I
don't
was
want to
like-
listen to that 80s bullshit. Like, let's be
Exactly.
real. Like most people, like you'd have the weird outliers who like Prince and Talking Heads and you know whatever punk rock. But like for the most part, like in the 90s and 2000s, 80s music was super passe. And then somewhere around 2012, that whole LMFAO kind of like neon 80s revivalist type of thing kind of swung through, and I don't think it ever left. And now I think it's all the decades. The kids just, I'll do a 60s vibe today. I'm gonna do a throwback. I'm seeing a lot of like late 70s like hairstyles right now. Like a lot of the girls are like rocking a lot of these like kind of Joan Jett kind of feathered things going on. And so like I feel like as a kid now, you just have like the whole history to pull from, plus you know modernity. So yeah,
makes sense. But I was just blown away. I was like, how the fuck does everybody know what Talking Heads songs? I was like, my dad liked that, but like I was like, man, whatever. But they're so good. I just never got really that far into them. But people now are like, yeah. All right. So let's go to question number 3. Was there ever a moment where you almost walked away from music? And if so, what was the reason? And why did you decide not to do it?
Once a week. Because I've come too fucking far. There's 1 and 2 right there. That happens every week. Every week I question
invested
myself.
too much. I can't cash my chips out yet.
I've come too far, and what the fuck am I gonna do now? Not make music? Like I don't know. Who the fuck could I be without music? Like it gets to a point because this is like there's, as you know, it's a labor of love. Like I get like somewhere between like 100 and 200,000 streams in a year, depending on if it's a good year or not. We do pretty decent on everything, and of course, across all my different platforms, like I probably barely bring in enough to cover my $50 a month Bandcamp pro fee, because it's like there's no money in this shit. So like my whole thing, like it's not the money. So it's just as who I am. So I can't quit, but it's a thankless thing. So every week, like I'll be sitting here doing shit. And you know how it is. You do podcasts. You're gonna do this. I'm gonna share it once or twice, and then like you put your whole fucking life in this, and you know, bands are gonna share it once or twice, and then they just move the fuck on, and you just got to keep going, and you just got to keep going. And sometimes you're just sitting there like, do people even give a shit, or is this all me and my ego trying to play like, look at me, I'm important? So I go through that all the fucking time. But then like people will say nice shit and be like, hey man, I checked out that session, or hey, I really enjoy it. And like, so I get validation that kind of lets me know that, okay, maybe I need to get out of my head and just record that band. It's not a big deal, and don't quit, and you enjoy this. And so, yeah, man, it's a pretty regular cycle with me. Wanting to quit.
I've even had like random bands I've never met from like the East Coast and in Europe and stuff be like, hey, I really like that episode you did about marketing. I'm like, really? Because like I think like 30 people listened to it. You must have been one. I was like, what the hell?
But that's cool, man. That means something. That's real. You know, that's someone's whole time out of their life. They were like, hey, I'm gonna listen to see what Isaac has to say today. You know, I think Isaac's a cool enough guy that I want him to be my narrator for my life today. That's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's just you don't really know what to expect because the internet is just so vast, obviously, right? Like you could
like throwing a bottle into an ocean and hoping someone on some shore fucking gets it.
Yeah. Or what do we used to do when we were kids? We let a balloon go and it like had a tag on it and like landed in fucking South Dakota in the middle of a grass field or something. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Some farmer's gonna find this one day.
Yeah. So let's talk about question number 4. This is based on just because I don't know that much about previous venues or anything like that, but like in all of the time that you've lived in Las Vegas, what has been your favorite music venue in Las Vegas? Does it still exist? What about it did you like, and how would you like to see something like that exist?
Hundred. Anyone from my generation is going to say the Hundred. 100 was a medium cap venue that was all ages. That at the time it had decent sound when I was a kid. I'm sure if I went back now, I'd probably like, this is horrible. But it had big sound. Everyone from Smashing Pumpkins, Sublime, some fucking like everyone fucking came through there and played there. and it was just this mecca, dude. Like kids from like we have scenes on all different sides of town because we don't have shit like that now. Like that used to be the scene. That and off of Maryland Parkway, you'd have like fucking from Balcony Lights down to Trimmers and fucking Ozone and Cafe de Copio and Cafe Roma. You had this whole like section where all the kids from town bust down to, and we all hang out down there, and you meet kids from every different section. And so like that was it, man. We had this thing, and it was a big, I mean, you see the Huntridge parking lot, you can imagine that accommodates quite a bit of young kids and cars and hanging out in the parking lot and smoking your weed. And we used to go, they'd be pretty hard about drinking out front, so we'd go drink around back. And fucking one of my bands played with the Killers there at one point. Fucking it was epic, and the kids don't have that. They were like, the space is kind of like that, and the space is amazing. I love the space, but the space isn't set up like that. It's like a performance. It's like a performance space for off-Broadway type of shows and things like that.
Corporate type of stuff, or
And dude, Mark, who runs that place, is fucking awesome. He basically runs a charity when he lets us do shows there. He's basically like, you're gonna cover my operating costs, and we might make $800 in liquor. Like, so dude, like shouts out to Mark for literally like putting his like super amazing venue for us to throw like fucking punk shows and shit at. So I love the space, but it's like, as a kid, it's hard for a kid to come up with $1,500 to be able to like cover the cost of a venue, right? Where the Huntridge was just a venue, and you bringing your band there was how they ran their business. So like you could get onto these big shows, and local bands could do like big release shows there and push all month, and then it was like the thing to do. So definitely the Huntridge, man. I don't think anything has ever brought the camaraderie or a scene together like having like a proper medium-sized venue that's all ages. So that'd be my answer.
Have you seen what they're planning to do with it? And do you think it's going to be kind of similar, or do you think it's just going to?
It will never be anything like that, because there's not money in all ages shows. That's why there's no all ages venues out here. I mean, just flat facts, it's money. So they're going to put it into some, like, they'll probably put a little cultural nod to what it used to be, and have like some performing spaces where they'll do like they did in the park. You got a lot of that generation are now like the cool older bands, like the Souvenirs and the Hypnotics and the Shakewells and that sort of like hip older punk who now plays like classic like 40s music type of thing. You'll see those type of shows probably in there, but I doubt you're ever going to see like some mid-tier national act, you know, who's pulling 300 people with 7 locals. So, but that's okay. It's a time and a place, man. That's the thing about Vegas, is it's always changing and always growing. So that was that for me. But the kids nowadays might feel the same way about Ferguson's, you know? So who am I to say? But that for me, definitely the Huntridge for my generation is the one.
Yeah, and Ferguson's definitely not doing a bad job. It's just they still have to cover like alcohol costs, even though it's an all ages venue. And it's like, well, this also doesn't make sense. Like,
there's no financial way to make it work out here. That's why it doesn't happen, because the cost of the insurance that it takes to get the license required to run it is so prohibitive that you cannot, even with great shows all the time, make your money back and cover insurance, overhead, and staffing and do all ages shows. And that has 100% to do with the local Las Vegas government. Ronald Corso, who runs 11th Street Records, probably like 7 or 8 years ago now, had Oscar Goodman. That's more than that, because Oscar Goodman was still the mayor on the time. He had Oscar in, asked him, so, you know, what do we do about this all ages thing? You know, there's no all ages venues. We can't get permits. Oscar's like, oh, hold on. He's talking to his secretary. Do you know about this? What do you don't know about? Write this down. Like, they don't even, there's no money in this. Like, we're talking about something like politicians care about money. Yeah. This issue is so small that, like, even though it's an easy change, you have to give them money to change things, because they like got too many other shits they're worried about than passing some legislation about the underage dance hall permit laws in Las Vegas that were set up in the 50s because they didn't want anybody going anywhere but the Strip. So, you know. But
makes sense. I mean,
but the cool thing, like I always say about that, is there's a double-edged sword. So now all the kids have to learn how to self-promote, how to get, like, there's so many self-reliant skills that are learned from our local kids in this scene out here that other scene kids don't have to learn. Because you got to be your own promoter here. You got to book your own shows, book the tour, figure out who's going to get the sound out to the backyard for you. You know what I mean? Figure out a door guy, security, all by yourself if you want to do a show in the DIY scene in Las Vegas. Yeah. Most cities, you got 3 or 4 or 5 spots that you can go play your little shows at, because they don't have, you know, this fucking archaic like licensing laws that are prohibitive from people starting all ages venues. So it sucks and it's cool. Like, we wouldn't have such a great scene, honestly, if it was like if it was easy, to be honest. Yeah, I think the DIY part of it that's why a lot of bands support each other, because they're like, this is so hard to do. Like, we know how you feel. Yeah. It brings us together, you know, because it's us against the city of Las Vegas, because they don't want us to be able to like do this. They'll send the fucking police. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't believe anything like ACAB. I ain't mad at ACAB. Like, that's cool, but like I've honestly had a lot of decent interactions with fucking the cops, like coming out and being like, look, dude, kids aren't on drugs. They're not out fucking running in gangs out, or they aren't right now. You know what I mean? And there's nothing crazy going on. They're literally just listening to music, and I'm keeping them out of your hair. Can you give me like 30 minutes? We got a band from California. All right, we'll be back in 30 minutes. So
yeah,
you know, it's one of those things that even the cops are like, how the you know, like it's one of those like gray areas where. Yeah. Like, we're not doing nothing bad, and they don't want to have to, you know, bust us down. But the neighbor over there definitely doesn't want to hear this hardcore band at 11:30 when they got to work in the morning. So I understand all the sides of it. It's just real sloppy, and it's all because the city won't provide for its people. But you know, c'est la vie, such is American politics.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, like, casinos don't let kids in after 10 p.m. And that's including, like, they have bowling alleys. They have, you know, they have literally family stuff in, like, where most people have that in a shopping mall. We have those there in shopping malls too, but like bowling alleys, movie theaters, they're in casinos here.
Right.
And if kids can't go there past a certain time, like, where are they supposed to go? Like, you don't have any place for them to go. All they're going to do is go hang out with friends, because kids stay up later than all of us adults for sure. Like, when I was young, I was staying up till like 2 o'clock in the morning. Not saying I was always raising hell, but I'm up. Like, I'm bored. I'm going to find something to do. And so, like, what can I do? And if there's nothing for somebody to do, they're going to find ways to be destructive in a lot of times.
That's it right there. You just nailed the whole fucking thing. I'm bored. I'm going to find something to do. And like where I'm at in our section out here on the east side of town, like it's like a kind of the lower income side of town. So then like a lot of these kids don't have access to stuff, and the shit they do have access to is like fucking gangs and selling drugs and fucking, you know, hustling and fucking scamming and fucking. So like there is a lot of danger for idle hands are the devil's playground out here. So like if we can like I'm really big into teaching kids how to engineer and learn. If we can just like give them something, and this DIY scene is for these kids, they love this shit, because all these kids in this, they come from those backgrounds. I can't tell you how many of these, like so many of them, like probably at least 50% of these kids got like gangs or drug dealers in their immediate family. You know what I mean? And they deal with the shit that comes from that, seeing blood spilled, seeing like real fucked up shit. And like, so like they don't have there's no community outlet for these fucking kids. So, you know, I feel like music provides that. This DIY scene we have provides that. Like, was it crazy at home today? Well, you can come kick it with your fucking, you know, fellows or your girls who like also probably had a pretty crazy, and like it's this reprieve from everything else that's going on. And so you know, and that's I think, like you said, it's so insular, and everyone has to prop each other up so much that's why we have such a tight scene out here, and not like other cities, because other cities it is kind of like, oh, we're gonna go play that show against that other band, where in this here it's like we're gonna throw a show with that other band, and we're all gonna, you know, we don't have these things. So that probably is a big, you know, I haven't thought about it in that context, but that's probably a big reason why we have such a amazing fucking scene out here.
Yeah, and it makes sense, because no corporation or no bars are like owning the scene, right? Like you go to like San Diego, for example, it's not too far away, but they have specific bars that like you want to play at Kensington.
Yeah, there's like 8 places to play down there, including in North County.
Exactly. It's crazy. So the last question in this, which I think the spotlight questions anyway, this is one I always ask everybody. So what 4 musicians would you put on your personal Mount Rushmore for either being influential to you or being your favorite? So it don't have to be the same player, like, you know, it could be 4 singer-songwriters, 4 bassists. It doesn't have to be like a full band, but just who would be your 4?
So I'm going to go off the cuff on this one. Not a lot of people expect this. Number 1 is going to be Violent J from ICP.
Okay.
Violent J from ICP has this book, Behind the Makeup, which basically he lays out the best DIY methodry, and it kind of it's the method behind how ICP blew up. He explains what they did to do it, and it is literally like the fucking DIY Bible. Like, it's like so fucking good. Yeah. But like I went to the first ICP show at the Huntridge Theater out here and stuff, so I kind of grew up a Juggalo, and that sense of belonging, feeling, and bringing multiple different bands under the same fucking label and kind of making your own thing and saying fuck the world type of thing, I very much carry that into Asteroid M Records. So very heavily introduced by the business. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna say ICP makes the greatest music, including Juggalos, but business wise and DIY mind wise, like, God, so fucking like so impressed with those with how he managed to move his business forward. So there's that. Tim Armstrong from Rancid, I got to give a huge shout out to. I went to, you know, we all go through shit, but when I was going through my shit phase, I kind of came up in a time when punk rock was like, you know, it was like same as you. It was like the popularest thing in the fucking world. So I liked some punk, but I wasn't a punk rocker because at that time that meant you were wearing puka shell necklaces and shit like that.
Puka shells? What's wrong? No, I'm just kidding.
Right. And so, you know, I wasn't really super into it at the time. There was punk that I liked, but I kind of was just like, I liked music. And then I remember right around a certain time, I got kicked out when I was 17, like just straight out of my fucking ass, and I didn't really have nothing to do. So the first Rancid self-title got handed to me by my buddy. He's like, hey, I think you'll like this now. And that whole thing is about Tim kind of being out and homeless and stuff. And I just, the overall vibe is like, at the end of it, it's the end of Let's Go, but they got the song 7 Years Down, where it's just the human spirit prevails. And so that always resonated with me. Like, yeah, it's hard right now. You feel like you're getting kicked in the ribs every fucking day, but like, you got this. You're still going to get up. You like, if anything, just to say, fuck you world, you ain't got me yet. I'm still going to do this. So I got a lot from that, and the kind of like, you know, the Operation Ivy disillusion, and then starting over, just that whole like nothing's forever, you can always pick up and start again type of thing. So I'm just a huge Rancid fan. I could sing like everything up until the last 2 albums. So
the last album that they just put out is actually quite good. I was shocked.
Yeah, I think it was their best album since Indestructible. Garth Brooks will be 3rd.
Okay.
Garth Brooks will be number 3.
If you're gonna pick a country singer, it's pretty much got to be Garth Brooks.
So number 4 is going to be the next would be Snoop Dogg, and I'm combining Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre in the year 1992 into one artist, because they pretty much were all over the place. But
they were together.
So those two, the ICP and the Rancid things, kind of like the ethos behind what I'm doing. Just fucking having fun with music and shit. Dude, Garth Brooks in Pieces, that album's fucking a punk rock country album. He's just all over that shit. But I remember being a little ass kid, and my mom was always foisting country down my throat, 'cause she's like a big country girl. My name's Cody Leavitt.
Sounds like an assassin.
I hated all that shit. But Garth Brooks would be like running around like a fucking madman, and he had this song, Ain't Going Down Till the Sun Comes Up, and he's just like, and he's just going crazy on that song. And so I fucking loved Garth Brooks, man, and he really got me into it. I remember just singing that album all the time, till I could damn near hit the notes with it as a little kid. And so that really got me in a lot into playing and singing and being musical. And then, dude, and then the other side of that is like, I grew up like right across the street from Hampton Court projects in Henderson on Driftwood, and so everyone in my neighborhood, like, it was just like Dre and Snoop. 1992, like Chronic and Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style hit. I think it was 93. That whole next 3 or 4 years in my neighborhood was just nothing but Dre and Snoop and West Coast gangster ass rap. So today, like, I like punk rock, gangster ass rap, and like outlaw country are like my 3 big things. Like, I'm really big on the LA gangster rap right now, like fucking Baby Stone Gorillas and fucking there's a bunch of shit. But yeah, so those would be my four right there. Would be
definitely
Violent J from ICP, Rancid, Garth Brooks, and fucking Dr. Dre / Snoop Dogg.
The double-headed monster.
Yeah, there we go.
the double-headed rapping genius.
As you will, yeah. 1, 2,
That's
3
awesome.
into the foe.
All right, so the spotlight's off. We'll be back in just a few minutes to pretty much wrap this interview up, but we'll stick around because we got more to talk with Cody right after this. Running your own music career is incredibly difficult. Trying to get people to like, share, comment, listen, follow, it's all just overwhelming. Most musicians give up before they ever achieve success, and that's the worst. If you're looking for a better way to grow your music career, head to DIYrockcareer.com for some absolutely free training. It costs you nothing, and it could be the difference between hitting your goals and quitting your dream. Go to DIYrockcareer.com today by clicking the link below this episode.
Then I lost my way.
Welcome back to the Powered by Rock podcast. All right, Cody. So let's talk about what Asteroid M and Not for Sale have coming up, basically for the rest of the year. Which you guys have coming up in, the near future in 2024 as well. So I know you got some shows and stuff, but let's talk about what you got going on.
All right, so we got on the 28th of this month of October, we got our annual Halloween festival that we do with the city of Las Vegas. They're cool enough to bring out like a nice stage and like set it up, and it's like a pretty nice little open lot downtown between Hoover and Gas Street. It's right across from there's a theater there. I forget the theater, but it's right there on Hoover and Gas. Okay. And so that'll be cool. That's free. We're gonna have Spelling Hands dropped out today. So we have Anti-Vision, Desert Island Boys, Halt, Imperial Tide, Dead at Midnight, and Inframundo coming out for that. So that'll be a really fun one. As far as Asteroid M, I'm just going to continue to I'm really focusing on the live sessions. So I'll be trying to do weekly live sessions, but I'm also going out. And as I throw shows, I go out and I record. I don't know if you've been seeing the Asteroid Visions, which is basically I go out and record studio quality sets from bands in backyards and live, and then take it back home and mix it. So I actually have really cool studio quality captures of live shows in the element. So I'm really focused on that because, like I said, I'm really into the historian stuff. So we got Desert Island Boys and Anti-Vision will have a couple new releases. 3 Rounds is always going to be dropping stuff because they just work all the time. And then we'll just be putting on shows for the little local scene, and the YouTube's really what I'm focused on right now, just trying to get as much documentation of all this amazing awesome stuff we have out here. Not even in Vegas now. I think my last for a 3-video run right here, it's going to be Seattle, and San Diego. So we're really starting to expand outside of just the Vegas scene. So for as far as Asteroid M, man, just stay up to date on the Asteroid M Instagram. Look for our shows if you're in Vegas. If you're anybody who follows us, fucking thank you so much. I spend my whole life doing this, and even if you're just one person, I fucking appreciate that. Man, I think that's all that we got going on, man. We're just focusing on putting out good music, good content, and good shows for people to check out.
Yeah, I saw the Pure Sport cover of their Territorial Pissings by Nirvana, and I was like, holy fuck, this is really good quality, everything. And Jared actually is probably one of the only singers alive who can actually sing like Kurt Cobain, if not better, for that type of music, which I'm like,
that's hard to pull off. So I wanted to put that one out there.
Yeah. I was like, Puddle of Mud tried doing a Nirvana cover and he got ruined for it. He was terrible at it, but it's not easy to sing like Kurt Cobain did. So Jared, he's not trying to sound.
That's why I say best band in Vegas, man. They got the whole thing. They got the look, they got the fucking sound, and they got the performance, and they're not douchebags. They're really fucking cool guys. They play the part just enough, right? And they know right where the line to blur the line between performative band who's a corporation and I'm fucking Jared who's in this before, you know what I mean? They're so self-aware about the whole fucking process of their band. They hear me, they're probably tired of hearing me say how much I love them across the fucking universe.
It very much reminds me of the Stephen Colbert Report or whatever, where he was ultra conservative Republican, but then obviously it's just all irony, right?
Right, exactly.
He moves away from it. He's like, no, that's all me telling them how stupid they all are about being like that.
Right. Yeah. So I like it, man, and it's not too much. It's just enough, It's just it's a good recipe, man. There's not too much salt. There's not too much pepper. Everything gels good, and fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. All right, so basically, obviously, we're gonna put I'll put some links to everything that you have going on below the show notes or below the episode in the show notes. But do you have any other shout outs to anybody who you've been working with lately, or anything that you want to say before we go today? Final
shout out Rose Levy. We made a awesome record before they disbanded recently. I would like to say, man, just shout out everyone. Shout out fucking Pulsar Presents. Shout out Brian who does Dirty Rock and Roll. Shout out GC Records. Fucking shout out everyone in Las Vegas. I love you. I fuck with all you guys. And if I don't fuck with you, fuck you.
There's a reason, God damn it.
Yeah, that's 2 of you. And you probably aren't watching this because you probably seen my bitch ass face on here. But if you are watching,
you fucking
but we're good. Love y'all.
You got to this point.
Yeah, man. You gotta have 1 or 2 haters, right?
Yeah. All right. Last question before we sign off. Obviously, you just mentioned that Rose Levy has a new album, but name one piece of music that you think that's has come out this year or in the last 365 days. One piece of new music or new artist that you think people should go check out.
So I can't talk too much about it because Larry has me under wraps about who we're working with, but I can say that me and Larry Bro have been working on the new Life's Torment album for a fucking year. And we have gone in on this more than I've gone in on any fucking piece of recording. We're basically going to mix it down. And once I get it mixed down to where we're happy with stuff, it's getting sent over to God City Music, and the boys from Converge are going to finish the album off for us. It's going to get sent off to mastering. And we've for a local album, he's got some fucking big names on this fucking thing. Stop by for cameos, but it's Life's Torment. Everyone needs to check out Life's Torment and Panic Geek Records. Larry Bro's been out here since the 90s. He you want to talk about Las Vegas hardcore? Larry Bro is Las Vegas hardcore. Everyone go check out fucking Life's Torment. That guy's just grinding. I think they're probably one of the highest underrated bands because the genre they're in isn't so popular. But dude, if you look at Life's Torment, they're hitting all the fucking festivals throughout the US, and check out Life's Torment. If you're into heavy fucking music that splits your head wide the fuck open, Life's Torment.
Nice. Very cool. Well, that's it. That's all I got for you, Cody. But thank you so much for stopping by the show today. It's been a good afternoon that we've had a conversation with. It's nice and sunny outside. The Knights won last night, so everything's
Good
pretty
day.
much right in the world, right?
Good energy in the valley, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So go check out the show notes below this episode. Just get to the links to not for sale, but also for Asteroid M, all the good stuff. Make sure to subscribe to, Asteroid M on YouTube, because there's some really, really good content. And like Cody said, it's documenting Las Vegas scene in a way that I don't think anybody else is doing it right now. So I definitely would highly recommend you go check that out. And obviously, remember that the Powered by Rock podcast is powered by our listeners. To show us some support, please subscribe to this and share it on the podcast on social media as well. You can also check out poweredbyrock.com for any merch, gear, any new stuff we got going on, articles and stuff like that. And you can go watch this interview on YouTube or on Spotify if you want to see the video there as well. That's our show for today. I'll see you soon for the next episode. Until then, rock on.
Supposed to be easy.